Hi, my name is Lee Jones. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Fly2Sky. Just arrived from the UK.
So Lee Jones, very good to have you here in Sofia as the new CEO of the Bulgarian Fly2Sky Airline. We cannot say that it's the first time that a foreigner takes over a Bulgarian company. There was one time before in the past where we had a CEO coming from abroad, but it just took him, I think, 3 to 4 months or something like that. But I'll get back to this further on in our conversation. First, let's start with your previous experience. Where are you coming from, and where have you been so far?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for the welcome. Yeah, I've been in the company now 10 days. So in terms of my background, aviation through and through. So I started in the military, I was in the Royal Air Force as an air traffic controller. Then I moved into commercial aviation. I was with Thomas Cook Group for 18 years, various different roles, started in operations, went into fleet management, into commercial, scheduling, various strategy roles, leadership. A lot of it was to do in procurement of wet lease capacity. So I was on the other side of the table, so to speak, in that I was bringing aeroplanes in. And it was a group, so Thomas Cook was made up of an airline in the UK, in Germany, in Scandinavia. We started a ACMI airline in Balearics in Spain. And we had an airline in Belgium. We set up another airline in Germany. Predominantly from a cost-based point of view, it was to service the main carriers being Thomas Cook in the UK and Condor in Germany. I had a lot of experience at that time with in aviation with airlines in the Baltic states, so in Latvia, Lithuania predominantly. Also experience in Bulgaria as well, back in 2017-18. So after Thomas Cook, I was in Qatar. I spent some time in Qatar, heading up some special projects, and from there, I've been in a leasing company. I've then was the CEO of a Maltese carrier, developed that from, let's say, a big transformation, grew the fleet, tidied it up in terms of aircraft types, and then recently I did a turnaround project for a cargo airline in the UK, where we were able to grow the fleet, grow revenue by 70% in 6-7 months, and predominantly commercial.
Yeah, cargo was on the rise, especially during the pandemic.
Absolutely.
So there was a window of opportunity that still exists, actually.
It's still there, and that opportunity, it was an interesting project, and that really takes me to short, but where I am today. So taken over, come back to Sofia, let's say on a permanent basis this time, as opposed to frequently visiting. Yeah. But yeah, that's it.
Can you recall some notable achievements during your time with your previous airlines?
Yeah, of course. I think one of them was leasing out in winter. We did a big strategic project with Transat in Canada. And that project was to move 22 aeroplanes in the fleet. As you know, the seasonality is one of the biggest challenges in aviation, specifically in Europe. In Canada, they have counter-cyclical seasons where the demand is predominantly in winter. Summer is not so strong, more long haul for them in summer. So we were able to get an agreement. It took some time, we took 18 months, 2 years to build on this, where we would provide them up to 22 aeroplanes out of the Thomas Cook fleet to Canada. Then they would come back for us in the summer. It was a great concept, great business for us because we get rid of excess capacity in the winter. The other, let's say, project was setting up the Balearics airline, which was low-cost ACMI platform, because we got to a position where there was not that much ACMI quality ACMI capacity. When I say quality, we can touch on that in a second. Not so much quality ACMI capacity to bring in. And when you want to grow your capacity in summer by 20–30%, but you don't need that 20–30% in the winter, ACMI is where you go to. But with the lack of capacity there, and you don't control the product so much, so the airplanes may come in tired seats, maybe the cabin crew don't have the same culture, you need to be able to control some of that yourself. Hence the reason why we took a decision to invest, build a small airline in Spain, in Mallorca, but then have all of the support of a big corporate organization. So back office functions and operational support was given. So that was one. I think there's also smaller things.
So the idea was for a scheduled airline?
Not necessarily a scheduled airline. The ACMI operation would support the group in Condor and Thomas Cook, would support the schedule business that we had there. But it was done on an ACMI basis, intercompany ACMI basis.
I'll be asking you about people just in a minute. So getting back to actually turning into the future now, after Thomas Cook, they're gone already, but getting back into the recent past, you said that you had a stint in Malta with a Maltese carrier. So now one might kind of speculate that you've come to Fly2Sky as their CEO, because last year, actually at the end of last year, we broke the news that Fly2Sky is intending to establish an AOC in Malta, Maltese AOC. So now I know that almost 1/5 of the European fleet now is based in Malta. Why is that? What is the competitive advantage of this market? This is my first question, and the second one will come after it, and it will be related to the Fly2Sky's intentions.
So I can only go off my own experience. The authority there are extremely supportive. Malta is a small island. It's got 500,000 people-ish, but who are, let's say, ultimately residents. That grows by 2.5 million during the summer periods, obviously, because it's their biggest industry is tourism, and aviation comes in with that as well. I can only go off what I experienced during my time. You have a really supportive CAA authority who are willing to support, give the necessary resource, have the skill set there. There are some expats that work there as well, in terms of they've
Are there any financial incentives as well, in terms of tax breaks or something like that?
Not in terms of tax breaks. Obviously, each jurisdiction has their own cost structure in terms of what registrations are there, and tax needs to be paid as...
They're just facilitating the whole process and the logistics.
But they're there to support. I think if you're looking at a differentiator, my experience was, if I need an airplane to be on the register and on the AOC at a given date, it generally happened. Other authorities, whether it's through resource or whether it's just a case of that they weren't able to deliver, that sometimes it stalls a little bit. So they're very, very supportive, and that has been my experience. I would fully support setting up another AOC there in Malta if it was able to expand our business.
Will that be an additional cost, or rather a saving for an airline to have two AOCs, both based in the European Union countries?
There will be an incremental cost, let's say, a startup, and I mean just to say in terms of the support, you've got the big carriers in Malta right now. So Ryanair, Wizz, Eurowings, they've all placed huge numbers of aeroplanes in there. There is always an incremental startup cost, but it takes some pressure off the authority here. We've got two options. So if we need to bring another airplane in, because we want to grow the business, we don't want to be stifled, and in the end, it's a case of giving yourself options in order to be able to fulfill that growth.
So it gives you a competitive advantage as well, in the near term.
It would give us an advantage to where we are now. Does it compare to give us an advantage versus the competitors? But our competitors have 2-3 AOCs as well. So we're maybe getting onto a level playing field.
Let's get back to the topic of why actually you joined Fly2Sky, why you accepted this offer, and when it came to you, what were your first thoughts? Okay, it's a Bulgarian airline, it's not a national one, it's an ACMI operator, but with huge opportunities in front of it.
You answered the question, yeah, huge opportunities, yeah. So, I mean, this was both parties. When you're setting up a partnership, a relationship internal, you have to do your homework, your due diligence. Both parties did that. We met on a number of occasions. I got a flavour for the people here in terms of they're so enthusiastic. First of all, really, really enthusiastic people. Maybe there's some elements of development in terms of systems and analytics and bringing the people onto, let's say, the next level, which is investment. But the enthusiasm that from the shareholders, from the board, from the management team, even this was before I let's say, accepted the role, that is one of the things I thought actually, as well as, let's say, opportunity to be in a business and grow and lead a company, it's the people side of it that they've made me feel really welcome since I arrived. So all of that, taking all of that into consideration, I think it's a great opportunity for the company, but I also think it's a great opportunity for me.
So where do you see yourself in, let's say, a couple of years and the company as well?
Where do I see myself, or where do I see the company?
Both.
I see the company growing. I don't see it would be in the, let's say, the current level of number of aircraft and people. I see that we would have a larger workforce. I see that our brand would be more known in the market as it is today. But ultimately, we are aiming to push a really quality product. And a lot of, specifically in the ACMI business, that we talk about quality, and it's really defining what quality means. And quality, how do you assess it? It's easy to assess because there's two ends to it. It's your own people, your employees, and how do they believe in it and what they think, but ultimately the customer. So we've got two ends of it. We've got the customer and we've got our employees, all people, businesses as well. And in the middle of it, there's myself, Fly2Sky, and we will be assessed by those two groups. And if we get that right, if those people are happy, as in the clients, the customers, and these people are happy, as in the employees, that's the way that we win.
Yeah, especially in ACMI, I usually differentiate between clients and customers. For example, if your client for the company is another airline, then your customers are its clients. Because when you operate for a different airline, you need to reach the quality level of this particular airline, and when you're on the ACMI market, you work usually with various airlines. So it's kind of difficult to assess the quality of the product rather than the quality of the service that you're providing.
Yeah.
And I believe that the service is much more important for the ACMI operators. Is that true? Or?
The service is one element. The service that you're providing, not only on board the aircraft, but the service that because we're a B2B.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not direct sales with customers, but we're still measured by the client's customer. So a great, and most big corporate entities have this in, it's NPS, Net Promoter Score. So they'll measure, they'll compare their own fleet, their own aeroplanes, their own people against any ACMI operator that comes in. We have to make sure that our standard is up at the client standard, and the customers are giving the similar feedback, which should be positive feedback, in order for us to be successful.
What are expectations for the ACMI market in this year, so 2025?
I mean, ACMI has been growing for the last, let's call post-COVID, because we talk about pre-COVID and start to analyze pre-COVID, and I understand why we did that, but now I think it's time to, we've got enough data there to compare. But certainly it's in growth mode, and there's various reasons for that. Supply chain is a challenge, airplane deliveries are a challenge, and that's where the opportunity comes from on our side. There will be around 5–10% growth, I would say. No, 5–10% growth there will be in 2025, but the demand is there. The demand is there. Now, there will come a point where that growth will either stagnate or it will plateau. And then it'll come down to the decision of the airlines that take ACMI wet lease capacity in. They'll have a choice. And it's my role and us as a team, where we want to get to, is it doesn't become a choice. People will automatically say, yeah, that's the carrier that we want to go with, because they're reliable, they're on time, they have nice aircraft, the product is good. Again, the reliability point from a technical point of view, but also that they're reliable. If we say that we're going to deliver something, then it's delivered. And so those elements will come in terms of what the market will be like in 2025. There are a number of players. There's obviously one major group that has got a number of AOCs. And at the moment, the market can absorb it.
We're talking about its Aviation Group from the world.
Yeah, Aviation Group, obviously the biggest player in the market right now. But the market can absorb. There's enough demand.
So what will be your strategy in that respect for 2025? First, for the summer season, because it's the high season for our part of the world, and then for the next winter season, which is the most challenging part.
Winter is always the challenge.
Do you already outline your strategy for the year?
So, in terms of outlining the strategy, we know what our plans and intentions are. Winter is always the tough one. You can sell your airplanes quite easily in summer, certainly in this market. Winter, we intend to have some winter partnerships, which we will start to work on. Or we've actually already started to work on. And if we can make sure that our, let's say, summer customers are happy with us, then there's always the opportunity that they'll take us during winter as well. Obviously, a lot of maintenance activity happens during winter. There is markets which we have not explored. We've already been in Europe, although we have a couple of aircraft in the US. But there's other markets that we can also follow what the competition's doing. They're placing airplanes in South America, in the US, in Asia, but we'll do it selectively with the right partner. I believe we have a good strategy overall. We've got shareholders that are completely invested, good support, a strong board. So we're in a point.
So you obviously won't go into any detail because that should be confidential. That's understandable. But will it be rather proactive? So you search for new markets, or reactive? When new markets open up, you just end up there.
No, I think we will build up an analytics team internally in terms of analysing which markets, and I've already got let's say an idea, but we need to be able to round that. We need to do our research. We've got some targets that we will go for, and we'll do it in a prescriptive, slow, but at a pace that is right for the organisation. The key element here is, if you in growth mode, you have to do it sustainably.
Yeah.
So we don't want to grow during summer and then all of a sudden think, what do we do with winter? So we will grow at a pace that the organisation is able to absorb, keeping in mind key quality partnerships. Reliability is our main focus. So we're not going to go and react and say something. We'll do something, and we've already been offered winter projects, and we'll be selective about which ones are the right for us.
So it's rather on the proactive side, because I really like the word analytics. In Bulgaria, many airlines tend to forget about doing their homework and analyzing the whole thing before something happens. And when you at least a little bit foresee into the future, then you'll be much more well prepared for what's going to come. So I promised to ask you about people, because you said a lot about the people, the community, the team that you're going to be leading here in Bulgaria. But many airlines, not just here, all around the world, they know that the greatest asset of an organization are the people, and they need to invest in them. But they tend to quite often forget about that when times become turbulent, for example. What will be your strategy towards the people and their retention, but also building upon the team and attracting new talent?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that to do with people is around recognition. So you need to recognize, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to do that, to recognize that the people are making the efforts. And I'm very much somebody who doesn't sit behind the desk, so I tend to walk around the office, and so I don't know whether that's new or not, but to be involved. But recognition is a good thing. System in order to recognize it, because it's okay for me to say, well done, great, thanks, really great job there, really appreciate the support. But it's also creating a system internally to recognize, okay, what is performance and manage performance. Yeah. So we will start to bring in some of the, let's say, learning from my past, and we've got a new director of people and culture who's very informed about how we can develop the team. We also need to recognize that investment, so training, sitting down, whether internally or externally, it's also put development in that sense. But all of this, as I said, does require time. So it's not something that we can expect to be done by the end of the month. We will see, okay, where do we need to invest in our people? What additional trainings do we need to give? And that creates people loyalty. And when you get loyalty in people, you probably get 10% productivity increase, because people want to come to work. We want to be the employer of choice here. We don't want high turnover of people, because administratively it's expensive. So we want to make sure that our people feel welcomed, they feel belonged, they feel valued. We want to listen to them, what they think they need in order to progress, and we want to see people moving up, because this is a growing company. There will be huge amounts of opportunity.
So it's going to be performance-based, but recognitional, performance-based recognition.
So recognizing when people are doing the role well, but we will be looking at performance due, let's say, annual development reviews that we would have in place, that is done in a structured and quantifiable way. So we're using data and assessments in order to say, right, this guy or this lady is up for the next level. They should be promoted to the next supervisor, manager, director, whatever it is in the company. Because one other thing I learned at Thomas Cook, there was a lot of internal promotions through development, putting people on courses, getting them, putting them into uncomfortable positions is also a way of how comfortable can people be when this is a new role or a new responsibility, and human reaction is fear. Yeah. And fear is what protects us against
and management of change, which is the whole science.
Management of change is something that is absolutely, especially in an airline, that's how we are regulated now, through management of change. Every change that we go through a business, we should be assessing risk assessment. But the performance, recognizing good performance, through various different means, making the investment, giving the people the time. That's really what the people side of it should be about.
It really sounds pretty good coming out of you. I just wish that this actually happens in the long run, and somebody recognizes their people at least once in this business, which is quite, could be quite dynamic and unstable.
It's sometimes it's easy for people in senior positions to forget people.
Yeah,
it's easily done. I've seen it. I can also admit that I do it myself, but you have to say, wait a second, take a step back. And that's, as leaders, is what we are there to do, to put our head above the water and go, pause for a second, and then go,
And these are the assets that can take you out of the water when something happens.
Absolutely.
So, fleet.
Yeah.
10 aircraft and counting. What is going to happen in the near term and mid-term? Any plans to expand the fleet further? And also plans for different types of aircraft, because you're currently only operating 320 family CEOs.
Correct. On that question, no immediate plans to change. Again, simplification in this industry is the recipe for success. As soon as you start adding another fleet in there, it's a completely different mindset, and complication we don't like. Get rid of complication, keep everything simple. And that is really a success factor. In terms of the fleet for the coming year, I expect we will remain at 10 airplanes. We may bring in one additional unit. But the company went through a period of growth last year. The organization performed extremely well, but we need to absorb that growth. And this is where we need to take some time to learn, develop, implement, create the analytics. If opportunity comes, the right opportunity, we will assess whether it makes sense for us. We will be opportunistic, but it will be done in a measured way.
Would that mean that at a certain point you may jump into the long-haul market with a wide-body aircraft?
Of course, it's a consideration at some point. And the obvious choice would be a 330 because of the synergies that you create from on the crew side, which I'm familiar with. But it has to be the right opportunity. We need the right business for that. Long haul is a completely different kettle of fish in terms of the support that you need for it. So if we are to do it, then we will assess it, but it's not off the table.
But it will help you to diversify the business as well, which are new opportunities and doors to be opened.
There's a few ways that we can diversify the business. Wide body aircraft cargo is also an option. So there are a few options, and we have to take it in, assess it. Does it make sense? What's the opportunity? And if it makes sense from a business point of view, from a people point of view, from a customer point of view, then
cargo was my next question, because there are already planes on the market, on the cargo market, that are from the same family, so 321 converted freighters. So this can be a possibility as well for an airline as Fly2Sky.
It can be an option. I have done some work on the past on that particular aircraft. There are some limitations on it. There are some limitations which we would need to have the right, let's say, business partner. Again, we're B2B. We're not going to be direct sales. Not at this stage. But if the right opportunity came up, and a partner was willing for us to do it, then we would look at it case by case. But I'm not actively at this stage saying, well, let's go and get a 321 freighter in, for example.
What about brand new aircraft? We know the limitations on those ones, especially the 320 families. What I mean is the engines, but why not? They're quite economical.
They are economical in comparison, but we're not in that business right now to bring in new aeroplanes. The ownership costs are heavy. But we're in midlife age aeroplanes, but we want to bring in aircraft that is a good product. And don't get me wrong, obviously the Neo is a good product, but also if you look at the carriers right now out there with the supply chain issues, with the issues with the manufacturers, it probably doesn't make sense for us to go and
yeah, perhaps not at this time, but looking into the future, all those around 500 aircraft that are still on the ground because of the Pratt & Whitney issues, yeah, they will be coming back. And then you talked about the demand. The demand is still there, and the demand is so high because there is lack of supply. There are no aircraft that are produced on time by the manufacturers, and at the same time we have like 5 to 7% of the global fleet on the ground because of engine problems and supply chain issues. But when these aircraft come back, then do you have the vision and the strategy for that time?
So when the aircraft come back, I see another opportunity actually, because the airplanes, you've got airlines now that are making lease extensions that didn't even believe in lease extensions. Once an airplane gets to 12 years old. They're now extended to 18 years plus. When these airplanes come back, and they will come back, but when is the question. Yeah. There will be airplanes that are going to be parked and scrapped and towed down, and that's a different opportunity for us.
For a fleet renewal?
Potentially, yes. Yeah. Potentially, yes. Yeah.
With planes from the secondary market, but much younger ones.
Exactly that. And we need to be real that we know which our market is, but we're not into the market of signing up for a 6-12 year lease of a Neo right now. But secondary, yeah, and good quality secondary. Yeah. Yeah, when airlines give them back, because we know which would be, let's say, airlines that will have looked after their aircraft, nice cabin product in itself, that's an opportunity for us.
In the beginning of our conversation, you mentioned the brand, Fly2Sky, and its branding. So we know that the ACMI market lacks an interest in branding their aircraft, and most of the fleets are white, or they don't feature any recognizable brands on them, but still, branding of an airline is quite important because, as people say, you're recognized by your brand and by your clothes. So are there any plans, not for a rebranding, but just branding the aircraft and make the Fly2Sky brand much more recognizable to not just your clients and customers, but to the general public as well?
Yeah, so this is one of those trade-offs. So in an ideal world, you're able to brand your aircraft when it suits you, and then if the customer, again, more B2B, the customer or the client, as you say, prefers their branding on it, we'd be able to do it within a couple of hours. Unfortunately, life isn't like that, and so it costs time in order to change it over. What I would say is this: if our clients want their branding on, we're open for that, because ultimately it's their product that they're trying to sell, and we want to be part of that. In the future, if we were to start working more closely with tour operators, for example, then we would look to start to build our own brand on the aircraft. That would then make more sense, because then we really will be flying as Fly2Sky. But we're not there yet, but I see that as an opportunity in the future.
So we might see a little bit more colorful airplanes from your side.
You could see a bit more color on our side, yeah.
Okay, let's wrap it up, and can you make kind of a overview of what your goals are in this role, because you just said that it's been 10 days since you took over the position of CEO of Fly2Sky. So what will your goals be for here at the helm of this Bulgarian airline?
I think we mentioned quite a few of them, but to summarize, I think ultimately we want to keep things simple, eradicate complexity. That's one goal I'm keen on. Implement analytics, making sure we are a data-driven organization. We have lots of data. We're putting that data in for information so we can take relevant decisions. That's another goal. delivery for our clients for summer is critically important. That is from day one the objective. Okay, where are we? Making sure our product is a good quality product that our clients are happy with, their customers are happy with. And we're setting ourselves some internal KPIs now to measure our performance. And even if the performance says we're not where we want to be, then we'll come up with some short-term actions which may come into mid-term, long-term actions to ensure that we meet our targets. And ultimately the people side, making sure the people in the company want and respect, and we are an employer of choice here in Bulgaria, and they see the development and the opportunity just like I do. Summary, that's how I see it.
Well, you know, Bulgaria is kind of notorious for impatience and quite often saying farewell to its foreign managers in a span of like 6 months. I really hope that's not the case for you.
Yeah.
I really hope that's not the case for you here, because from your summary of the goals that you've stated, it looks like you know what you're trying to achieve here. And final question: are there already any people that you personally invited and put into your team, or do you have plans for
At the moment, no, there is not, but I do see potential areas where we can strengthen, so we will add people in as opposed to from a background, and I think that would help the organisation. Yeah, but I would only do it if it's going to help the organisation.
Thank you so much.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you for being part of this special flight of Fly2Sky Airlines. We hope you had a pleasant time with us, and we look forward to seeing you again on board our aircraft soon. Thank you, and we wish you a nice day.